very early this morning, Hamas militants from the Gaza Strip began shooting thousands of rockets at Israel and also infiltrating with their militants across the fence into Israeli communities, taking people hostage. They came by air, by sea, and by land, using motorcycles and other things, taking this country by surprise on the Sabbath and on the holiday. Meanwhile, it is almost certain to upend negotiations that are underway among Israel, the United States, and Saudi Arabia as they try to come to an agreement whereby the Saudis will normalize relations with Israel. Israel will help the Palestinians, and the U.S. will offer security guarantees to the Saudis. The Israelis say that behind Hamas and these attacks is Iran. One of the reasons that there is this negotiation between the United States, Israel, and the Saudis is in fact to counter Iran. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has been under siege politically here because of populist policies aimed at weakening the judiciary, could gain or could lose from this. He could gain because the country will rally around a counterattack, but he could lose if he is seen as being the one who let Israel be caught unawares by such a terrible attack from its southern border.
McCarthy, do you expect there to be a vote this week?
I expect there to be a vote and elect a new speaker this week. I asked them in there. I know a lot of them want to nominate me. I told them, please do not nominate me. We said a prayer for Israel. As you know, every year I would lead the new members to Israel. We do it on a bipartisan basis. On our last trip, we went down to visit the border along Gaza, see the Iron Dome. And we went and toured a kibbutz. That is the exact same one that you found the atrocities today of young babies being murdered, being decapitated. The talk today is we have a job in there, but more importantly, we have a job to do something right now. There's a crisis in the world. There's a void of leadership. We need to stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel. We need to make sure Hamas is destroyed. We need to make sure the resources that go to terrorists from Iran is stopped. The sanctions are already there.
Less than 3 hours ago, the House Majority Leader was nominated for House Speaker. The House Republican caucus nominated Leader Steve Scalise in a closed-door vote. Scalise thanked House Republicans for their vote, but said they have a lot more work to do.
We have a lot of work to do, not just in the House for the people of this country, but we see how dangerous of a world it is and how things can change so quickly.
House Majority Leader says if elected, he will focus on passing bills concerning the south border, high energy costs, and the war in Israel.
We are in active conversations with members of Congress about additional funding for Ukraine and for Israel.
Now, no bills can come to the House floor without approval from the Speaker.
Be supporting Steve Scalise?
Yes, I encourage colleagues to do so. I think it's important we come together, and I've offered to nominate Steve on the House floor.
What will you say to the, maybe handful of members that are still wanting to vote for you on the floor?
It's a critical time for the House of Representatives to get back in session, to have a Speaker of the House. We know what's happening with Hezbollah in the north, of our dear friend and close ally Israel, and what's been happening from the south with Hamas. So it's important we're back functioning as a House of Representatives. We need a Speaker, and Steve is the guy for that. And I will, like I said, I've offered to give the nominating speech for him when we get back in session, which I hope is soon.
Will there be a floor vote tonight? For example, has already said that he is going to continue voting. Will there be a floor vote tonight?
I hope floor vote soon.
Do you think Scalise can make it on the first try?
I hope.
Should the conference wait until he can make it on the first try?
What's your reaction now that Scalise has the vote, Speaker-elect?
Right, Matt.
I'm excited for him. Can't wait to go vote for Steve Scalise.
Absolutely.
Long live Speaker Scalise.
Do you think he has the votes on the floor? He was a divided vote in there.
I sure hope so. We'll see some democracy in action.
You think he'll clear this up with one vote on the floor?
I hope so.
Is that who you voted for?
Did Jordan say that he would vote for Scalise on the floor as well?
You'll have to ask him.
There seem to be a lot of people who still say they would vote for Jordan.
Are you concerned at all about this outcome? concerned.
Did you back Mr. Jordan? Is that right?
Yes, I vote for Jordan.
Yeah. So are you concerned about Scalise winning?
Well, I'm concerned he doesn't have the votes to get to 218, and so we should probably resolve that before we go to the floor.
So you don't think he can get there to 218?
I don't think he has the. I didn't say I don't think he could get there. I said I don't think he has the votes right now.
So what do we have to do to get there?
We need to have meetings and talk.
Because there's some talk. It sounds like from talking to the number of members that they want to have a vote this afternoon. Would that be a mistake in your view?
It's actually up to Mr. Scalise now when the vote happens.
Mm-hmm. But would it be a mistake to have the votes this afternoon? In your opinion, I mean, if it happened, do you think it would be a bad idea?
I don't care whether it happens or not.
So if it goes to the floor, will you vote for Scalise?
I have a meeting with Scalise to talk about this.
Thank you. So, Congressman, do you plan to vote for Steve Scalise?
I'm not supporting Steve Scalise. I'll be voting for Jim Jordan.
And why is that?
Well, Jim Jordan presented a strong plan for us, a detailed plan on how to move forward. We didn't hear that plan from Steve Scalise. It was more vague answers. But there's another situation that's very personal to me. You know, I lost my father in 2021 to cancer, and unfortunately, Steve is going through a cancer battle of his own. And, you know, I like Steve Scalise a lot, and I like him so much. I would like to see him put his full efforts into defeating that. The Speaker of the House is a very serious job, and our country's in a crisis. We've got a wide-open border. Now there's a war breaking out in Israel, and that could expand in the Middle East. Our country is still funding the proxy war against Russia and Ukraine, and Americans are suffering under unbelievable inflation and possibly an upcoming recession. We need a strong Speaker of the House that can put all of his energy into the job, which requires not only being the leader in the House of Representatives, but traveling all across the country. So it's very serious to me. Jim Jordan is a fighter. I've known him for a very long time. He endorsed me when I was first running for Congress, and I think Jim Jordan is the leader we need right now to be Speaker of the House.
So just on his health issues, he says he's under treatment and he can do the job. You just don't buy that?
That's not what I'm saying at all. I believe in Steve very much, and I believe he is definitely following the treatment plan that his doctor has laid out. But I think it's very serious. Again, I lost my father to cancer, so I'm not saying this lightheartedly. I'm saying this with as much compassion that I have for anyone, and he's someone I like. And Jim Jordan is someone that I believe in, that can lead this fight and lead our conference and be a great Speaker of the House.
A couple of hours ago, House Democrats nominated House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker of the House. Now the House Minority Leader bows against Majority Leader Steve Scalise, who was nominated by House Republicans yesterday. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan is also in the race.
We get everybody in a room together, not individual meetings. I'm not cutting any deals. I want to meet in front of all of our members, answer every question, and just continue to work through to unite and bring our conference together.
Now, the vote for House Speaker started today. At last count, Scalise was more than 200 votes short. Some GOP lawmakers say they expect to work through the weekend to try to unite other lawmakers behind one speaker. The White House says the sooner there's a new speaker in place, the sooner they can move on an aid package for Israel.
Breaking news just in from Washington. Louisiana Republican Congressman Steve Scalise ending his bid to become House Speaker after failing to secure the 217 votes necessary to win the gavel.
I just shared with my colleagues that I'm withdrawing my name as a candidate for the Speaker designee.
He worked today, felt as though he wasn't going to be able to get there. He's going to still be our majority leader. I've been in that exact same position that he was back in 2015.
Is it validating at all to see other people have challenges?
No, we don't want this. You know what's validating to me is how do you allow 4% of the conference to do this to the entire country? Why would all the Democrats join with 8 members, what we have going around the world? You know, I'll stay to this day. What I did was 100% right, keeping government open. Can you imagine for one moment the wars that are going around the world, and if government was shut down? That if our troops were not being paid right now, we want them in the aircraft carrier strike team to be out there questioning whether they're going to be able to pay their rent. I just think the conference as a whole has to figure out their problems, solve it, and select a leader.
I'll say there's some members that still are going to vote for you.
Hey guys, Congressman Santos, can you talk to us about your never Scalise comments?
Yeah, it's never Scalise. At this point, we're going to have to find someone else in leadership that comes forward that's going to be a compromise candidate. But as for me, it's never.
Is it
for
just
Scalise.
because he didn't call you? Is that
No, it's not because he didn't call me. It's because if you're in leadership, there's 222 members of your party, 221 now. You talk to everybody. I've reached out numerous times to Congressman Scalise, and me reaching out and asking him for guidance in his leadership and him not reaching back out, that's a dereliction of his duty as a leader. So I'm not voting for somebody who lacks fundamental leadership skills. I don't know. I don't care, quite frankly.
Meantime, less than 2 hours ago, House Republicans voted to nominate Jim Jordan to be their next Speaker. All of this comes as he relaunched his candidacy for Speaker today after Majority Leader Steve Scalise dropped out of the race late Thursday night. Some House Republicans skeptical Jordan will be able to get enough support from moderates to get the 217 votes needed to win on the House floor.
I think there's enough people that would see what has happened and transpired over the last 40 hours to not support him that we're going to have the same problem with Jordan that we had with Scalise. So I think it's a math problem.
Jordan now has new competition with Georgia Congressman Austin Scott filing to run. The timeline remains in the air of when a vote will happen. House Democrats expected to nominate and vote unanimously for Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. That means Republicans can only have 4 members vote opposite of the rest of their caucus in order to have their candidate get the votes necessary.
Would you support Austin Scott for Speaker?
No, I was going to support Jim.
You support Jim Jordan?
Yes.
Do you think that he has the votes to go to the floor?
I think he's got the votes, but we'll see.
Mr. Jordan, how quickly would you be prepared to go to the floor today if you get?
As soon as possible. I don't know if it's today, but that we'll see how the candidate forum goes. But we feel good. But we do have members who, I think both Republican and Democrat members, who aren't in town, my understanding. So you got to allow some time for them to get back.
But if you've been saying all along, so you need to have 217 votes. If you do not get 217 votes, fall short of it, is it time for you to step aside and let someone else step up?
We'll see, but we think we will. And the vote's not till sometime later. We got the candidate forum now, which I gotta get through here.
And Jim Jordan stayed on Capitol Hill over the weekend, meeting with Republican colleagues who still are not on board with his becoming the next Speaker of the House. At least a dozen or so GOP members still oppose him, leaving Jordan well short of 217 votes needed to become Speaker. South Carolina Representative Nancy Mace says she believes Jordan will be victorious.
They seem pretty good, and looks like, I believe we're going to get Jim Jordan across the finish line tomorrow. It's what the American people want, it's what they deserve, it's what they need, it's what they're begging for.
Democrats say they will hold the vote tomorrow at noon. Jordan needs 217 votes again to win the gavel.